college was on my mind, but before Le Moyne became evident around Onondaga County, I hadn't given much thought to it.
I was interested in industrial relations.
At that particular point, Le Moyne was the big deal.
My brother-in-law, John, went to Le Moyne, took industrial relations. My sister-in-law went to Le Moyne. So there was the family, aspect of it.
So when they opened up and said, they're going to have classes at Le Moyne, everybody jumped on it.
It almost seems like it was a no-brainer. It was just the place to go.
The two of us went into industrial relations. At the time, the industrial relations major had, I think, 3 females in it. The rest of them were mostly veterans coming back from the war.
There was just the administration and the science building. It was very warm, very welcoming.
Therese also has always been much smarter than I was. She studied much harder, so she spent, I think, half of her studying time making sure she understood something, so she would kind of coach me. So she had the highest 4-year average in our class, and I didn't, but I passed.
I watched my parents, I listened to my parents, I looked through their yearbooks.
They always would bring out the yearbooks and we'd go through them and start picking out people that we knew.
I remember as a kid coming to reunion picnics and having a ball. My parents had their friends and their friends had kids our ages, and we would just run around in the quad.
Big tents and the big barbecues, and my parents knew everyone, and it was kind of nice to be included as a family with part of the Le Moyne family.
I was probably 8 or 9 years old when Deb came up to Le Moyne. She was an RA, so she had her own room, and I would get to spend the night with her. This was always a very welcoming place from a very young age for me.
Because everyone in my family went to Le Moyne, I was absolutely not going here.
My parents were very happy when I chose to come to Le Moyne.
Oh, we were just excited, and her father as well.
I think I always had my eye on Le Moyne. I always looked up to my dad and followed in his footsteps, and my mom's for that matter. They were both industrial relations majors. I didn't really know exactly what that meant, but I decided to go for it.
I finally chose Le Moyne, and I will never forget calling my grandparents to let them know I had chosen Le Moyne, and Grandpa Schoeneck said, "Well, it's about time you got off your duff and made the right decision."
I don't think they were surprised. They probably knew me better than I knew myself, so I don't think they were surprised, but they were very excited.
When I started at Le Moyne, my dad was the president of the alumni board, and there was just something special about that.
When my family told stories, I could relate to them. I heard them my whole life, and then having lived Le Moyne for myself, their stories, my grandparents' stories and my parents' stories, have such a rich meaning. The professors and the priests who they had relationships with.
I think we must have had 80% Jesuits, so we just expected
I
that.
think the fact that there was so many of them, we got the advantage of interacting with them.
Always a very big part of our lives, and it got passed on to our children as well.
I loved that the Jesuits made us think a little outside of the box in so many ways, particularly social justice.
Father Aloysius J. Owen, S.J., he was my industrial relations professor.
He spoke with a hammer, and he was very adamant about things. And he said, it's your responsibility to take your education and don't just sit on it.
He just emphasized, get out. When you graduate, you go out into the community and you make a difference.
Our oldest daughter, Mary, was killed in an automobile accident at the age of 21.
I was Associate Director of Family Life Education for the Roman Catholic Diocese, and Father Joe Phillips was the director.
Once we got through the initial shock of being a member of a club that nobody wants to belong to, Therese had said to me, something positive has to come out of this tragedy that we've had.
The first Christmas, I would say, we survived. That's the only word I can use. So the second Christmas was approaching, I went to Joe and I said, could we have a gathering of longer brief parents on how to cope with the holidays?
An opportunity to talk together as a group of people, and that was the beginning of Hope for Bereaved. That was 40 years ago,
I just wanted something positive to come, and I knew how to do it, because of being with Family Life Education, and I was there because of Moyne. So it all kind of grew to where it needed to be, and so we were able to do this.
I met my husband on the first day of class, the first class of the first day of class.
The story is that my father opened one of his books and his high school football picture fell out. And he was like, oh, where'd that come from? And to get a conversation going with my mom.
We ended up studying together, and then we dated for the 4 years we were at Moyne.
My husband attended Moyne, and I met him my senior year.
Met freshman year, we were good friends. By the end of freshman year, we started dating. He was also in the honors program.
I met Patrick in freshman biology.
All the same network of friends.
A few months into being friends with Patrick, I was like, I think there's something here.
And we actually were married up here, and our oldest daughter was baptized here.
We got married here 3 years ago.
When I walk back on this campus, I feel like I belong.
It's just been something that's been a part of our fabric, I think, of our family.
Was that my family had the connections, but it was at the same time as my own college experience.
When you get onto the campus, there's a feeling of, I belong here.
Because you had so much support and so many interpersonal connections and relationships, and it was the genuine community that made Moyne the experience it was.
Looking back, very blessed that Moyne came on the scene when it did in our lives.
Just always grateful. That's the word I keep coming back to, grateful for my Moyne education. Glad that Moyne was here. I don't know what my life would have been like if I hadn't gone there and it hadn't been here. So we were blessed.
My mom's one of 8, there's 26 grandchildren, so to have that huge family and then to have it kind of so many of them translate to Moyne graduates, it's just been really special to just kind of feel like this is home.
I think there are 17 great-grandchildren, 16 or 17 great-grandchildren now. So my guess is there's definitely going to be a 4th generation Schoeneck down the road.